Welcome to Beyond the Nudge, the podcast for women over 50 who are ready to grow joyfully, take action with ease, and fully step into their age of empowerment. I'm your host, Kia Eileen, and this is your invitation to go beyond the whispers of intuition, dive deeply into your potential, and create the life and impact you've always dreamed of. Expect monthly themes, transformative insights, powerful frameworks, and practical tools to help you reconnect with your purpose, overcome challenges, and align with your most radiant self. And because wisdom grows in community, I will occasionally be joined by incredible guests, women with inspiring stories, expert insights, and life changing strategies to share. So here's what's in store: practical wisdom, actionable tools and frameworks from spirituality, psychology, and metaphysics to help you grow, inspiring stories from me and from others who've transformed their lives and embraced their full selves, and empowered action to help you move from dreaming to doing with clarity and confidence. This is more than a podcast. It's a space for transformation, empowerment, and connection. If you're ready to move beyond the nudge of intuition and into your fullest expression, you are in the right place. So let's get started. Your best you is waiting beyond the nudge. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to our latest episode of Beyond the Nudge, episode 7. So, I'm really excited to have you here and to share this message this week. And so our episode's theme is all about living from your yes, living from your yes. And so when we talk about living from your yes, it's really important, first of all, to understand. So, what do I mean by that, right? What do I mean by living from your yes? So, what I mean by that is first of all, aligning with your truth and what that means to you, making an empowered decision from that place and taking action. You all know that I love the theme of action, moving from dreaming to doing. And so when we talk about living from your yes, it's really important, first of all, to understand what your truth is. And for everyone, that will look different. And so, aligning with your truth could mean a number of different things. So, how you define that. So, truth could first of all mean, that unfiltered version of you, that sort of raw version of you that's free from expectations and conditions and what everyone else wants you to do or who other people want you to be, not fulfilling those roles anymore. So what is that unfiltered version of you and what does she look like? And it's that space of you that remains when you strip away all of the shoulds. I should be this kind of person. I should be making this kind of decision. I should be fulfilling this kind of purpose. Sometimes we fulfill purposes and they're not even ours. It's everyone else's expectations. So listening to that space in you, listening to your soul, that might be your truth. Your truth might be, when all parts of you are in harmony, your head, your heart, your gut, when everything is in alignment, that might be your truth and where that voice in you comes from. Your truth could also be, that instinct, that intuition, that gut feeling that pulls you in various directions. I call that the nudge, right? Um, so it could be that whisper in your soul, that little thing that's niggling at you, saying, this is the direction that I want you to go in. It's the space where we don't need external validation, where we are being validated by something far deeper, far greater. And it's that wisdom that just knows. So feel into those definitions, and it might be a combination of those things. So, what is your truth that you can begin to lean into to discover what your yes is? And when you understand your truth, then you can begin to make empowered decisions from that space. And when I think about, all of the times when I've said yes and when I've taken that leap, it's been this feeling that has really energized me, that has given me life and light and has kind of spurred me into action. And so, where is for you the space for you to make empowered decisions, free from everyone else's expectations and obligations and duty? Because sometimes we say yes out of obligation and duty. How many times do we do that? I know I can certainly hold my hand up and say that I've said yes many, many times in my life because of a sense of obligation or duty. And so, where is the space in you when you can let that go and take an empowered choice from that space? And then, if you're making that empowered choice, what is the next step? Well, acting, taking the action, moving forward decisively. And when I say decisively, sometimes people think that I mean that it's easy. Sometimes that decisive yes is challenging because you have to step out of your comfort zone and you might be taking a decision that, other people think might be a little bit wild or crazy, but sometimes that's the yes that you need and you need to take that action. So stepping out decisively. Sometimes you might not feel so confident to take this decision, but you know deep inside of you that it's the right thing to do. Sometimes you're presented with an opportunity and part of you is going, "Oh gosh, I'm not really sure. I don't know." But then there's a part of you that comes from deep inside that says, "Yes, let's go forward." And we'll talk about sometimes where that no comes from in a second. Because I know, when I've been presented with opportunities before, I mean, I think I've spoken on this podcast before about teaching and starting my teaching journey. And I was I was very new in my practice. This is a little over 10 years ago, pretty new in my practice. And I was presented with an opportunity to start teaching counseling and coaching. And I initially said no. I initially said no because that's what we do sometimes when we're presented with opportunities and we think, oh my goodness, that's out of my comfort zone. Maybe it's too big for me. We initially say no. And the person who was asking me to do this said, no, I think you can do it and I think you'll be good at this. And so I said, well, let me sit with it. And so that's something that I highly recommend, just sitting with the decision. And then I felt into my body and the vibration that I was feeling around this opportunity. And then I began to ask myself, well, if I'm being presented with this opportunity, what am I really afraid of? Am I afraid of not being able to do it? Or am I afraid, that I'll really suck? I wish I was. I was like, oh my gosh, I might fall flat on my face. But what if? What if it works out? And what if I enjoy it? What if I'm good at it? And so I said, I wouldn't be presented with this opportunity unless the universe thought it was a good idea. So I said yes. And as soon as I said yes, something very interesting happened. I got this rush of energy, this rush of excitement that I was finally opening the door to something deep inside of me that I maybe hadn't even realized was there. So I taught it was a 2-day module. I taught the first module and I called this person on the phone on the way home and I said, that might have been the best thing I've ever done. It was magical and it just ignited everything inside of me. And I was like, I love this. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't said yes. So I encourage you to say yes to things and to look out for those opportunities. And so you might be then asking yourself, but, Kia, if that happened to me, how would I know it's a yes? And so, as I said in my example, I asked the body. I went inside of the body. So, quite often I'll say to clients, remember a time in your life when you knew without doubt that your answer was a yes? What did it feel like? Where did that energy come from inside of the body? And I'd invite you to do the same for yourself right now. Really think about a time when everything inside of you said, absolutely, yes, this is for me. And to feel, where did that come from? What was the energy of it? Did it radiate outside of the body? How did it feel inside of the body? And then think about a time when you knew without doubt that the answer was definitely no. Absolutely 100% no. So, where did that come from in the body? What did it feel like? What was the energy of it? And you can begin to chart your own yes or no somatically. And I think it's very, very important for us to know that we get signs and signals that come not necessarily just from our heads, but maybe from our hearts or maybe from our bellies. Maybe it feels big and expansive. Maybe it feels limited and restricted and constricted. And so, really feeling into and recognizing somatically where your yes and your no comes from. How else can you discover whether or not it's a yes? So, look at the synchronicities. So, sometimes that yes comes from inside of the body. Sometimes we get signs and signals from outside of us. Maybe there's a song on the radio, or maybe someone says something to us, and it really lines up with what's going on for us at that time. Sometimes when I'm looking to make a decision, I'll get feathers, a bit bizarre, but I'll get feathers that drop seemingly out of midair. Normally, when I'm thinking about this decision that I have to make, and it normally tells me that's my sign that, it's a go, it's a go. It's a go. And so what are the synchronicities? What are the signs that show up in your life? And does it feel like when you are making a decision that it feels like you're making a choice, or is it a reaction? Are you making a choice to say yes, or are you reacting to saying yes? Because it's important to also ask ourselves if it's an embodied yes, if it's coming from inside of us, or if it's a fear-based yes or no that might be coming from our heart, that sense of obligation or duty or fear. Fear that if we don't say yes, maybe we'll be judged or we might lose something. And so, asking the body, looking for synchronicities, understanding if it's an embodied yes or no, or if it's a fear-based yes or no. And an important question that I like to ask myself when I'm faced with a decision is, who am I in this yes? Who am I in this yes? If I'm feeling into this decision and feeling into the yes, does it feel expansive? Does it feel warm? Does it feel hopeful? Does it feel positive? Does it feel like love? Or does it feel constricted? Does it feel a little bit cold? Does it make me feel anxious or a little bit fearful? Does it make me want to draw myself in? That is normally a sign, right? And so when I ask myself, who am I in this yes? Am I love or am I fear? And if it's leaning more towards fear or anxiety or anxiousness, I have to really check in with myself and say, well, is it a no here? Or is it a yes? It's also good to ask yourself, does this yes align with my values? Does it align with my desires, where I am looking to go in my life? Thinking about your visions, your dreams, the legacies that you may want to leave. Where is it that you are looking to go? What are your dreams and your aspirations? So, is this yes helping you on that journey, or is it hindering you on that journey? Is it pulling you toward it, or is it pulling you away? Now, sometimes when we are making a decision, maybe we've had an opportunity, we've been given an opportunity, or someone's asked us something, and that first reaction is no, right? Sometimes there will be fear associated with the yes, much like my teaching story. Um, and so it's important to understand how to sometimes override the no. Sometimes the no isn't coming from that soul place. Sometimes that no is coming from our head and our subconscious, because our subconscious minds are wired for safety. They are wired for um, what is familiar to us. And so sometimes if we are stepping out into something new, stepping out into something unexpected, something we've never done before, our subconscious mind is not really going to give us the green light because it hasn't done it before. It hasn't created those pathways, those neural pathways to make sure that you are going to be safe. And so it will give you all of the things and all of the excuses to say no. And how I differentiate, a no that comes from my soul and a no that comes from my mind, it normally is chatter. It comes through as chatter. So, a lot of self-doubt. So, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I don't know if I'm capable. I don't know if I know enough. That's self-doubt. Or perfectionism. I need to know more. I need to figure this out. It's not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. So overthinking, right? What if it goes wrong, and all of the things that might come up with overthinking, and what if I make the wrong choice? What if I make a mistake here? What if it turns out really badly? So really mulling those over and over and over again. Procrastination is a friend, right? How many of you are procrastinators out there? I'm a recovering procrastinator, I like to say. So procrastination, uh, you know, when am I going to be finished? So I need to do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. It's not ready yet. Or the imposter syndrome, our friend, the imposter. Who am I to do this? Right? Who am I to do this thing? Normally, your soul wants to be much bigger than you are giving it permission to be. And so when people talk to me about imposter syndrome, I like to say, well, if your soul is calling for something greater and you are in some way pulling yourself back, the imposter is the version of you that's holding you back, not the version of you that wants to be greater. You in this limited form are the imposter, with your soul being the truth, the soul of your own greatness being the truth. And so we need to shift that old programming, to release that old programming so we can step into the truth of who we are and say the yes to the thing that our soul wants us to experience. So when, I hear people say, well, I'm not ready. And sometimes I've said that I'm not ready. Here's the thing. We're never going to be ready, right? Not fully ready. Because to be fully ready means, I have all the answers. I'm fully prepared. Nothing's going to go wrong. And so we need to sometimes just say, well, am I ever going to be fully ready? And maybe the answer to that is no, I'm never going to be fully ready. So let's go ahead and just take the step, take the leap, have faith that it's going to turn out absolutely fine, because I don't believe in mistakes. There are lessons and opportunities for growth. And so I'm not ready doesn't really matter, because what does that even really mean? What if I fail? What if I fall down? What if this is a horrible mistake? Well, maybe the real failure is to never have tried, because there are so many opportunities out there for learning and for growth if you just try. When we try something new, it means we learn something new. It means we're expanding. And so there are no failures. There's only opportunities for additional growth and expansion. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. Yes, I don't deserve this thing that's coming to me, that's being given to me, this opportunity that's being shared with me. Well, worthiness, and that says, I'm not worthy of this. I don't deserve this means I'm not worthy. And we sometimes, especially as women, get kind of like, entrapped by the belief that we have to earn our worthiness. And I'd like to say, what would happen if you owned your worthiness? Owned the understanding that you are already worthy and deserving purely by your presence. You open your eyes every morning, you're worthy. You take a breath, you're worthy. Whatever you do, you make a mistake, you're still worthy and deserving. You're in a bad mood. So what? You're still worthy and deserving. We need to own our space in this world to show up as our truth and know that we are deserving of being there because we are here. We are breathing. We are marvelous and magnificent. So, of course, you are worthy and deserving. So, own that. You don't need to do anything in order to be worthy. You are worthy merely by your presence. So start to own that. I invite you. And if you think it's selfish on some level to say yes, I'll leave you with this. What if you began to understand that your yes isn't just for you? Your yes can be showing other people that they too have permission to say yes, to want more, to accept more, to receive more. When we say yes to the universe and other people see us doing this, it creates a ripple effect for them to say, okay, maybe I'm also equally deserving of having more. And so when you say yes, thank you, with gratitude, it's for others as much as it is for you. And also think about the person that is giving you something, giving you this opportunity or gifting you something. The yes helps them as well. So it's far greater than just us. What else comes into play when we say yes? So sometimes saying yes means we have to have really strong boundaries, really strong boundaries. Because sometimes saying yes to something means that we're saying no to something else. And boundaries can be a tricky thing because it means that we have to say, well, I know what's good for me. I know what's right for me. I know what's important for me in this truth. Once you fully understand and embrace your truth and your worthiness, well, this is what I want. And actually, that doesn't feel good to me. So I'm going to say no to that. Can sometimes mean that other people will be disappointed by that, or maybe they'll judge you for that. And so there can be a lot of guilt around saying yes, because sometimes it means you have to say no to something. Just recently, um, my husband and I were due to go to see some friends. And I said, in the beginning of the week, I was like, I'm feeling a bit tired. I really would love just a quiet, quiet weekend. And it got later on in the week. And I said, you know what? I want you to go. And I need to honor where I am right now. I need to honor my body and I need rest. and a reset and rejuvenation. And so I sent him to see the friends, and I stayed at home. And I had a few duvet days, and I did some work, but it was some work that was joyful. And I did it from the comfort of my bed with cups of tea and music and candles. And it was the most blissful experience. And it really was the reset that I needed. Did I have a little bit of guilt? Of course. Were they disappointed that I wasn't coming? Of course. But I had an understanding of what I needed and what my truth was in that moment. And no is a full sentence. And so in honoring myself, it means that I get to show up, greater and in much better state, very relaxed for my clients, for myself, and for my family. So we have to get into the practice of saying guilt-free no's when we are sitting in our truth, because it's great for us and it's great and powerful and potent for others around us as well. And so I'd like to leave you with a little framework. And, if you've listened to these before, I love a framework. And so I'm going to leave you with the yes framework. So when you're thinking about making a decision, I want you to think of yes as your framework. So why? Yield to your inner wisdom. Really go deep inside. Ask yourself, what is my truth? What is the feeling of it here? What are my somatic responses? What does it feel like? Does it make me feel expansive or does it make me feel constricted? What am I yielding to? So yield to my inner wisdom. E, embrace the edge of growth. Embrace the edge of growth. So when we push ourselves and when we stretch ourselves and when we step out of our comfort zones, sometimes that's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but that is growth. And so it's really important to say, I'm saying yes to this. I'm feeling a little challenged by this, but I'm going to embrace it. And then S, it's a few S's. So yes, say it out loud. Yes, say it out loud. Step into it with confidence and then surrender. Surrender to that yes and all of the beauty and growth and possibility you are creating through that. So there's our yes framework. So yield, embrace, say it out loud, step into it, and surrender. So yes, and that is for you, and that will hopefully help you to really step into your truth and give you a framework to live by. And I would say practically some things that you can do. I like to reset my yes every day. So I'm connecting with myself in the morning, my morning practice, my meditation, my journaling, my visualization, what wishes to be expressed through me today. So what am I saying yes to that day? And then maybe creating a yes list. So instead of a to-do list, maybe you're saying, what am I saying yes to today? What am I inviting myself to experience today? And then take action. Take action. So I invite you to really feel into how you too can live from your yes and take some action. What are some things that you could say yes to this week? Maybe it's one thing. Maybe it's one thing that you've been thinking about and you've kind of put it on the back burner, thinking, oh, maybe, it's not me, or it's not the right time, or I don't know. I don't know if I'm good enough, or whatever that might be. What can you give yourself space to say yes to this week? And can you step out in that? So I'd love to hear, I'd love to share. So please do let me know. And I'd like to leave you with a quote. So Shonda Rhimes of, if you've watched Grey's Anatomy or Bridgerton or Queen Charlotte or any of those shows, Shonda Rhimes is an incredible, incredible talent. And she wrote a book called The Year of Yes. So she had this habit of always saying no. And her sister said to her one day, you say no to everything. And she really thought about it. And she said, do I? So she began this journey of a year of saying yes. And it took her into amazing, amazing places. And she says in her book, saying yes. Saying yes is courage. Saying yes is the sun. Saying yes is life. And I truly, truly believe that. Can you say yes to life for you? So, thank you so much for joining me on this latest episode of Beyond the Nudge. I hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take that bold next step into your year of significance. But remember, this is just the beginning. We have so much more to explore together. Be sure to tune into the next episode where we will dive into the subject of legacy and the courage to change. It's one you won't want to miss. So, before we wrap up, I'd love to share two causes close to my heart. I proudly support Women for Women International, an incredible organization empowering women in war-torn countries to rebuild their lives, and Mantle of Hope in northern Uganda, a charity offering hope and support to the victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence. If you're moved to make a difference, I encourage you to learn more about their transformative work and consider joining me in supporting them. So thank you for joining me on this journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please do share this episode with someone who could use a little nudge of her own. Because remember, your best you is waiting beyond the nudge.